Hey guys, I hope you had fun on Christmas, because I'll be playing the Frostbite Caves in Plants vs. Zombies 2. The Frostbite Caves, also known as Antarctica, actually takes inspiration from the hit film Ice Age. These nuts are the result of somebody not wanting to start a relationship with a woman, but still wanting to. This world features slider tiles, which also take inspiration from Ice Age. We find a baked potato, which is used to free plants from their frozen sarcophagus simply because of how hot they are. Plants such as snapdragon are capable of melting nearby ice blocks due to their heat. Day 2 is doable thanks to our slapdragons. Day 3 is when things start to get interesting. There are now zombies who may have attempted an internet challenge from the early 2010s. What makes this level interesting is that these slider tiles all lead to the top lane. The conveyor also gives us hurricles, which simply pushes back and chills an entire lane of zombie cavemen. Combining those slider tiles with hurricles practically creates a funnel, so I simply stall until the final wave as I release a beaver to finish off those cavemen junkies. Day 4 introduces hunter zombies. They wear the remains of their prey in order to intimidate my plants, since the Hunter's Almanac entry mentions how he's actually a vegetarian, meaning he didn't actually eat the remains of his prey. He was just bored one day and decided to relieve stress by committing a simple act of terrorism on weird mammals. Oh, and he also throws snowballs at plants which simply freeze them. Speaking of mammals, I went all out on the fire-breathing mammals with a few cannons and I won. Finally, I can cause mayhem at my aunt's house. Day 5. It seems that the game designers couldn't tell the difference between a cabbage and lettuce, so they simply chose both. We get our hands on fiery vegetables in order to not only melt the ice, but also lead the army of cabbages. The bunk choys that manage to break out of their frozen ice blocks are also able to break their fists simply by beating the ice blocks. The cold may have also given this plant a seizure. If you ever wondered what would happen if you did drugs, this would be the result, but I'm doing it anyways, hence why we won. Day 6 isn't just your standard locked and loaded level, it clearly states that most plants were chosen, just for you. Since these slider tiles are placed in the top and bottom lane, I had a pretty good strategy in mind. First off, I offer baked potatoes to these sunflowers. I didn't hear a no, so I'm using my terrible mindset to harass the flowers. Second of all, I also offered baked beans to these literal cavemen in search of food. Quickly, eat it before the vegetarian freezes it. Darn it, it went from a chili bean to a chili bean, isn't that great? Oh, I almost forgot to mention the use of conjoined winds in this level. If the Ice Age had some weird creatures, I might as well bring my own. Day 7, we're introduced to the missing offspring of the white-faced Sasquatch, which is why I used mouth burners and clapdragons. Day 8, we must waste no time, because we're given a conveyor and immediately ambushed by snowstorms. If they're gonna use frozen winds to their advantage, then I'll use it to my advantage as well. Unfortunately, I am quickly overwhelmed simply because there's too many zombies spawned by the snowstorms. At least I get to use the vegan/vegetarian equivalent to hurricanes. Hopefully I'm able to blow up the last set of zombies using a singular mine combined with frozen veggies. Oh hey, my plan worked, unlike me planning my uploads. Day 9 decides to show us a weird creature, which from my knowledge are dinosaurs that didn't die from a giant meatball, I think. One of them arrives, and the first thing it does is fly over the slider trap because it at least has tiny wings to support its big body, unlike its friends. I take that back, they came back from the dead and finally grew wings. And I also take back calling them fat, because I blew them up but their bodies seemed to be hollow, which could quite possibly mean that they were inflated. Day 10, we get our hands on another type of vegetable known as chartguard. They stall zombies by knocking them back from a very far distance. I bet you were expecting me to use that one Y word that was popular about a decade ago. However, they can only do it about 3 times before they go bald. But that's no problem, because they still have plenty of health left to stall the zombie. Day 11 is half locked and loaded. We're also given mushrooms that react both appropriately and inappropriately after seeing a woman. Day 11 is simply a really long level. Next. Day 12 is the first last stand level of this world. I'm going to use corn because remember when I said this in a previous episode? Birds hate butter and we must use it against them so that they don't consume us. Hopefully that same tactic works against these types of birds. Dang it, the frost winds out of all things is what counters my minefield. Actually, I could take advantage of that because now they won't get wasted on kids portraying whiteface. This is why I hate birds, not just because of how simply obnoxious they are, but because I forgot to mention their most powerful ability where they destroy all of my working brain cells. Sorry guys, I gotta sacrifice this mammal in order to survive. Day 13. I wish I didn't have to defend these goddamn flowers. Wait, what? The world is already introducing Gargs, unlike the previous worlds where they're introduced in the Gargantua battle. By the way, what makes this garg stand out from the other gargs is that it carries an ice cream cone without the cream part, and it carries 3 white furballs instead of an only child. Day 14's a locked and loaded level, and we may not have any plants capable of producing solar radiation selected, but at least the lawn starts with these frozen flowers. Just like in day 3, this level involves slider tiles that practically creates a zombie funnel. But these birds always find a way to counter. Never mind. Anyways, the so-called funnel leads to the middle lane, which practically becomes a shredder thanks to inbred Aussies. The reason why day 15 wants us to protect these peppers is because we're obviously in the Ice Age and oversized chickens have already gone extinct. Wait, those are real? What I meant to say was these peppers are currently the last peppers that exist, so we must prevent them from going extinct so that we'll be able to grow more in the future and have degenerates use them for views instead of making good content. We find the object that was responsible for my head injury. Speaking of head injuries, this literal caveman painting isn't too different from today's standards, and that's simply because you're stupid. Day 16, now we actually reached this world's gargantua battle even though we had clearly encountered these big hairy men back in day 13. The level had just begun and we're already ambushed by a frozen wind zombie alongside 4 more zombies. These frost winds kind of suck, you know, hence why we had to prevent the extinction of the flaming hot sodium fruit. This vegetarian simply relieves stress by attempting to freeze something that's already frozen. Bigfoot arrives, but he's easily countered by carrots, which is ironic because he can't see that he could use common sense and walk around my defense. Unfortunately for him, he's defeated by being force-fed vegetables. At least the hunter zombie would approve, but the plants definitely don't approve of his existence, because they decapitate him. Day 17, we're introduced to literal troglodyte zombies, and the figurative kind would probably be you. They push ice blocks which are actually the victims of child abduction. Can you guess who's responsible for that? This image right here was every male about a month ago when they would witness the sight of a woman. Day 18 is generous enough to give us layers, the kind that sprays its onion breath. What a surprise. Day 19, this one plays out like the other levels. The same can be said about day 20. We also find a block of ice full of calcium. Day 21, we gain access to what may be the hottest plant in the game. I am very funny. After plenty of spamming, we win and move on to day 22. This level showcases weasel hoarders, which are basically mothers who didn't vaccinate their children. I'd like to point out that the weasel hoarder is hopping simply because her feet were bitten by the frost, of course. And now her children are gonna be the ones biting next. Day 23, as you can see, there is a row of carrots, unless you can't see, hence why the game is offering you carrots in the first place. This level makes interesting use of the snowstorm gimmick by spawning almost an entire row of cavemen right on top of my lawn orange. Just ignore the unoriginal funny president joke who is no longer president. Anyways, I poison a vegetarian, cook a bird, put down Karen's kids, blow up a child kidnapper, and win. Day 24, we must produce enough solar radiation. Speaking of solar radiation, this might be the only time that this objective makes sense, especially since we're practically in Canada and Russia combined, excluding the sweet Canadian drinks and sleepy Russian water. Let's pretend that never happened. Same with this. I swear I beat that on my first try. After all, I did just say I swear. And I should probably stop before I sound like a amateur piece of shit. In the end, swearing ain't cool, but the Frostbite Caves definitely is. Day 25. We get our hands on rutabaga, which is an airborne plant. Too bad little Timmy couldn't get his hands on flying beets, because his hands don't reach. Unlike most plants, rutabaga can shoot from 4 of her holes, that's why she's unique. Damn it, I just made a PP joke involving mushrooms. Whatever, I guess these mushrooms grew after witnessing the existence of these female moms. By the way, I feel bad for the people who have hot moms, because those people are probably just piles of ashes. Anyways, we finally unlock floating radishes. And since I just mentioned floating radishes, we have to defend 3 of them in day 27. This is why vegetables are good for you. I know, I am the funniest mutant ever. Day 28, we're required to yet again plan our defense. I have created a new racist art form. Butterface. I'm gonna go use the lawnmower on myself. Wait a second, it's that guy from the Egypt video. You know what, you've got a point there. I really wish I was being rewarded by playing games. This guy looks like he's falling down a pit. I should probably help him. Never mind, the ad's over, and maybe his life too. Day 29 is nothing more than filler. Day 30, we finally made it to the final boss of the Frostbite Caves. This boss is rather intimidating. Zomboss skinned the main character from Ice Age and he can quickly fill rows with ice that releases zombies when destroyed. We fortunately have good plants such as 3 Peter, and baked potatoes are cool, I guess. even though they're clearly hot. We just have to destroy all of the ice that's in the way in order to pressure Zomboss into doing a face reveal. And the shock of his face being leaked damages him. We just need to leak more pictures of his face until he decides to commit. Actually, there's no need for that, because we just did it for him. We did it, guys. We finally beat the Frostbite Caves and obtained a key with a strange looking symbol. I'm assuming this key is trying to guide me somewhere, and hopefully I don't end up getting lost in the process. We made it to the end. I know I had already mentioned this in the last video, but I'm gonna mention it again. I've recently created a new community poll in my community section of my channel, and I want all of you to vote on what type of content I make next year. And also, get ready for a new video that'll come out tomorrow. I promise to be a mutant of my words for once. And also, goodbye.